Many strange legends are told of these animated movies of Disney, but none so strange as the story of a small boy named Mowgli and the cast of characters set against the deep jungles of India. Released in 1967, The Jungle Book was a dramatic departure from previous Disney animated structures and is still cited as some of the best character animation the studio has ever done. A story that recaptured the attention of Walt Disney himself before he passed away during its production, leaving it as the last film he had a personal hand in making. Adapting the story from the dark tones of Rudyard Kipling to the playful cast of characters was a long process of refining, with Walt pushing for a focus on personality every step of the way, leaving the plot as just a vehicle to showcase the strong characters, while not at all letting it get in the way of that focus. And ultimately, the production of The Jungle Book boils down to three main stages. After the animation strike of the 1940s, Walt Disney had turned his attention to live action and other pursuits like Disney World. So much of the animated movies were left primarily in the hands of the animators who were running the studio, people like the Nine Old Men and storyman Bill Peet. Peet almost single-handedly drafted a lot of these stories himself, famously 101 Dalmatians and The Sword in the Stone. And after Sword in the Stone, he suggested The Jungle Book as their next feature. Now, Rudyard Kipling's original anthology is a collection of short stories with a much heavier tone. Kipling, having been born in Mumbai in India during the height of the British colonial power, is a figure marked in controversy. Now, The Jungle Book is a series of short stories focusing on more than just Mowgli. There are other characters' stories as well, but they are all filled with lessons of respecting authority and knowing your place in society with the law of the jungle. In there are imaginative stories that attracted Bill Peet's attention. Once he was given the go-ahead, Peet's adaptation did keep the main elements of Kipling's work with dramatic blemishes, including scenes like the wolves rescuing baby Mowgli from going over a waterfall. His also had a blistering pace. For example, take these story pages where Bagheera and Mowgli sleep in the tree. Elephants attack, talked down by Bagheera, then a rhino, and then Kaa the snake. They're all piled in on top of each other. Yet, key to Peet's adaptation was the understanding of great characters in The Jungle Book. Baloo, Bagheera, Kaa, Shere Khan, and of course, Mowgli. Disney got involved in the film after The Sword in the Stone didn't do as well as they'd hoped. He didn't like the tone The Jungle Book was taking. He also didn't like the songs that had already been written by Terry Gilkinson.
Buldeo is my name of fame. I'm expert with the weapon.
Well, except one.
From eating just the bare necessities.
While discussing this, Walt and Peet couldn't really see eye to eye on the story, and it resulted in Peet leaving the studio forever. Following this, Walt famously gathered his team together and said,
"Okay, fellas, how many of you people have read Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book?" And not one of us raised their hands. We hadn't. And he said, "Good. I'm going to tell you the story. I don't want you to read the book. I want you to listen to the way I'm going to tell it."
He then laid out the story as he wanted, in three pillars: simplicity, personality, and fun. They started from a section where all the characters were present, figured out how they'd interact, and built backwards from there, completely overhauling the story team.
That's what friends are for.
If you map the main plot of The Jungle Book, it follows a very thin thread of a boy raised by wolves has to leave the jungle for safety, but he doesn't want to leave. You can basically focus each story beat around a character. That's what Walt Disney wanted, to pull away from the so-called icky, sticky story stuff and give more room to build personality. Building sequences around characters rather than moving the plot allowed the characters to shine. And this also allowed the animators so much time to be fun and playful in each sequence. figuring out the most precise way to underscore the emotions of each interaction. And I think the unique reproach and standing legacy of the Jungle Book really lies here, due to a number of choices. Firstly, as I mentioned, setting up a simple narrative and never letting it get in the way of the characters. Secondly, the casting. The voices focus on very specific personalities, distinct and contrasting from each other. The prim and proper Bagheera.
So you can look out for yourself, can you?
Versus the jungle bum of Baloo.
Scare me. Oh boy.
Or how Louie and Baloo both love the beat so much they just can't resist dancing to it. Kaa and his consistent sinus or back issues.
Trouble with my sinuses. What a pity. Oh, you have no idea.
Against Shere Khan's distinct belief he's above all the animals. Within moments you can hear the attitudes.
Fortunes of war and all that sort of thing.
And it's funny, the casting was a unique process in this. Phil Harris as Baloo was a real left swing at the time. Even he wasn't sure if it was the right decision.
So I got up and I started to read this thing, and I got about about 2 or 3 lines, and I looked over at Wooly Wrightham, and I said, I can't do it. It just doesn't feel natural. They said, well, Phil, what do you suggest? I don't know what made me say it. I said, well, do you mind if I do it the way I would do it? And they said, go ahead and try it. I said, look, kid, you keep fooling around in here with these animals like that monkey will eat you. You get your roof knocked in.
Yet this became one of the all-time memorable performances in Disney history. Their personalities shine through, and their choices make sense. Like, I understand why Baloo gets so enthralled by the music, he forgets to rescue Mowgli until the music stops, and he's the last one to stop dancing. That's brilliant. Now, thirdly, instead of assigning a character to a lead animator, each animator was given a sequence within the scenes. All the interplay between the characters in the Jungle Book, it makes sense to allow one supervisor to figure out their acting and interaction over the whole sequence. That allowed the characters' personalities to shine through the hand of each animator, knowing they could twist and fit the acting and performance for the whole scene, not just actions, but the reactions, how they touch, how they move together, not trying to understand what a fellow animator was doing and trying to get them to fit together. Also, creating set-piece songs, giving them a moment to set out their goals and their own personalities, to build out the vital characters. Writing the music in such a way that it feels timeless.
To buck you up when you walk down.
Halfway through the animation, word came down from High that Walt had cold feet on the idea, and he said that it's going to date it. So what they did, they changed it to a barbershop quartet.
We're your friends to the bitter end.
According to the Sherman Brothers, Walt kept reminding them to have fun. While there is a simplicity to focusing on character, it doesn't mean that it's an easy way to tell a story.
Don't spend your time looking around for something you want that can't be found.
Making something seem simple is very difficult. It takes a lot of work. And as you can see from the Jungle Book, it went through so many iterations to arrive at the simple thread of where it landed. Time and focused effort are key ingredients to making something simple. Focusing on the characters gave the storymen, actors, and animators time to play around with them. That and one word that was repeated throughout: fun. Make it fun. Just have fun. Focus on the personalities. That's really the next level craftsmanship on display in the Jungle Book. Given the direction from Walt, the personalities found in each characters, they then imbued years of experience into each sequence. Milkal and Shere Khan, something so simple yet complex. It's a masterclass in animal locomotion and character acting. Even Richard Williams would marvel at this work.
How did you ever get that tiger to weigh so much and be a tiger and a cartoon? How did you ever do that?
And every animator had their time to shine, to bring all that experience to bear. John Lounsbury and Hathie's troupe as they soldiered through the jungle, stomping, marching, but most of all, just blind to everything else around them. But perhaps the most endearing was the interplay between Baloo and Mowgli, masterfully animated by Frank and Ollie, pouring their warm friendship into the emotional heart of the story.
I think I'm most proud of the fact that between the two of us, we got that real warm friendship to come through. And that's what we wanted. We were both striving for that. And we both did practically all of the bear and Mowgli. And we felt would be the heart of the picture, and the warmth in a picture is what Walt always wanted us to get.
I think the ingredients of simplicity are even on display in Kipling's work. If you look at the translation of the animals' names, Baloo is bear, Bagheera is leopard, Hathi, Shere Khan, it's all there. The root of keeping the foundation simple allowed building a strong world, where the complexity isn't built in the plot, trying to twist and surprise us, but rather built into developing strong characters and then watching them play together.
A storyline that's too complicated can get in the way, and Jungle Book had the simplest storyline ever.
I think too often we try to be original in creating stories by hiding between layers of complexity. But really, keeping it simple makes a story far more relatable. Of course, simplicity is a fine line. Stray too far and it becomes predictable or cliche, or fall the other side and it becomes too complex, almost impenetrable. Focusing on strong characters, distinct personalities that feel authentic, and then we just get to watch them interact. Find the heart of a story and their relationship. That's the lesson I take from the Jungle Book. And the final lesson from Walt Disney as he went off into the sunset.